We're diving deep into a topic that I think we can all relate to. Pain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we all experience,
Mm-hmm.
but have you ever really stopped to think about what pain actually is?
Like, what's really going on beyond just, that feeling of ouch?
Right. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, there really is, and it's fascinating stuff.
Well, lucky for us, we've got an expert here to walk us through the science and the significance of pain.
I'm excited to dig in.
Me too.
Yeah.
So how about we start with the basics?
Sure.
Like, how do we even define pain? It seems pretty straightforward, but I have a feeling it's more complicated than we think.
You're absolutely right. We all know pain when we feel it, but actually defining it is a little tricky. It's way more than just a physical sensation.
Oh,
Like, emotions play a huge role, too.
that makes sense.
I mean, think about it. A stubbed toe might make you yell out in frustration.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And a headache can leave you feeling totally drained and irritable.
It's true. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
Yeah. So pain really is a full body experience.
And I guess that explains why pain can be so subjective.
Exactly.
Like, what might feel unbearable to one person could be just a minor annoyance to someone else.
Right. It's not as simple as saying, oh, this is a 5 out of 10 on the pain scale,
Yeah, everyone's experience is unique.
And that's actually part of what makes studying and treating pain effectively so difficult.
It's like a moving target.
Kind of. There are just so many individual factors that come into play.
I see. So to even start to understand this complexity, we need to realize that there are different types of pain,
Yeah.
and each of those has its own kind of quirks, I guess.
Right.
So can you break down some of those key categories for us?
Sure. One of the most fundamental distinctions we make is between acute and chronic pain.
Okay, I've heard those terms before,
Mm-hmm.
but what's the difference?
So acute pain is what we typically think of when we say pain. It's the immediate, ouch after an injury.
Yeah.
It's like our body's warning system telling us, hey, back off, this is bad news.
Oh, like when you touch a hot stove.
Exactly. That instant searing pain makes you pull your hand away before you get seriously burned.
Right. So acute pain is there to protect us from further harm.
Exactly. It serves a really important purpose.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about chronic pain?
Okay, so chronic pain. This is where things get a little trickier.
Yeah.
It's the pain that just lingers, sometimes for weeks, months, or even years.
Wow.
And often, it's not directly related to an obvious injury anymore. Think about conditions like arthritis or nerve damage. The pain just keeps going even after any initial tissue healing.
So it's like the alarm system is stuck on.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when there's no immediate danger, the pain signals keep firing.
Wow. That sounds really tough to deal with.
It can be. And to make things even more complex, there's another category we call allodynia.
Allodynia. Okay, that's a new one for me. What is that?
Imagine you have a sunburn. Even the lightest touch to your skin can feel excruciating, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's allodynia. It's pain that's triggered by something that normally wouldn't hurt at all.
Like a gentle breeze.
Exactly. It's a sign that the nervous system is kind of out of whack, sending pain signals even when there's no real threat.
So it's like the body's wiring gets crossed.
That's a great way to think about it.
Interesting. So allodynia is basically a hypersensitivity to normal sensations.
Exactly. It's often seen in conditions like fibromyalgia, where even gentle pressure can trigger widespread pain.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I've got acute pain, chronic pain, and allodynia. Are there any other types of pain we should know about?
There are a couple more that are really interesting. There's phantom pain.
Phantom pain.
Yeah, and it's as strange as it sounds. This is when someone feels pain in a limb that's no longer there.
Like after an amputation.
Right.
Oh, wow. So even though the limb is gone, the brain still creates pain sensations in that area.
It does. It's like the brain's map of the body hasn't quite caught up to reality.
That is so wild.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the last type?
The last type is called breakthrough pain. And this is a sudden spike in pain that can happen even when someone is taking medication for chronic pain.
So they think they have their pain under control, and then boom, it hits them again.
Exactly. It can be incredibly disruptive and distressing, especially for people managing conditions like cancer.
Wow. So we've got this whole spectrum of pain experiences, and each one has its own unique set of characteristics.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing.
It really is. It makes me wonder, why do we even feel pain in the first place? It's obviously unpleasant.
Yeah.
So what's the point from an evolutionary perspective?
That's a great question, and the answer might seem a bit counterintuitive, but pain is actually crucial for our survival.
Really?
Yeah, think of it as our built-in alarm system, protecting us from harm.
Okay, so it's our body's way of saying, hey, pay attention, something's wrong here.
Exactly.
It alerts us to danger so we can avoid it or protect ourselves.
Right. Like imagine if you couldn't feel pain when you touched a hot stove.
Oh my gosh.
You just keep burning yourself without even realizing the danger.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. So pain, as much as we dislike it, it's really there to keep us safe.
That makes sense. What happens when people can't feel pain? Is that even possible?
It is. It's incredibly rare.
Oh, wow.
But there's a condition called congenital insensitivity to pain, where individuals are born without the ability to feel pain.
Wow. I mean, that might sound like a superpower at first.
You'd think, right.
Yeah.
But it's actually incredibly dangerous.
Oh, how so?
Well, without that warning signal of pain, they're much more prone to serious injuries and infections.
Oh, I see. Because they don't react protectively to harm.
Exactly. They might not realize they've broken a bone or that they have a cut that needs attention.
Wow. That really puts things into perspective. It's like pain is usually a bad thing, but no pain can be even worse.
That's a great way to sum it up.
So can we take a step back and talk about how pain actually works?
Sure.
Like, what's the process of feeling pain?
Okay, so it all starts with specialized sensory nerves called nociceptors.
Oh, nociceptors, got it.
These nociceptors are like these tiny alarm bells scattered throughout your body.
Oh, interesting.
In your skin, muscles, organs, even your bones.
Wow, everywhere. So they're like the first responders to injury.
Exactly. When you get hurt, these nociceptors detect the threat, whether it's heat or cold, pressure, chemicals, and they send a signal up your spinal cord to your brain.
So it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, kind of.
The nociceptors send the initial alert, and then the brain interprets that signal as pain.
That's the basic idea. But it's not just a single signal. Different types of nerve fibers transmit pain messages at different speeds.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's why, sometimes you might feel a sharp stabbing pain followed by a duller ache.
Oh, yeah. Like when you get a paper cut, there's that initial intense pain, and then it kind of settles into more of a throbbing sensation.
Exactly.
So the brain is ultimately responsible for how we experience pain.
The brain is the control center. Yeah. It receives those signals from the nociceptors, processes them, and then creates the actual experience of pain.
Wow. So it's not just a one-way street, though, right?
Oh, okay.
The brain isn't just passively receiving those signals. It's doing a lot more than that.
Absolutely. The brain can actually modulate the pain signals.
Modulate. What does that mean?
It means it can turn the volume up or down on the pain we feel.
Oh, wow.
And this is where things get really interesting, because it means our thoughts, emotions, and even past experiences can actually influence our pain perception.
So it's not just about the physical injury itself.
Right.
It's also about how our brain interprets that information.
Exactly.
Like it's constantly weighing the evidence,
Yeah.
deciding how much pain we should feel
Right.
based on all this input it's getting.
It's much more dynamic than people realize.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that. So
Yeah.
is there a specific theory that explains how this modulation of pain works?
There is. There's something called the gate control theory.
Okay.
And it suggests that there are these gates in the spinal cord.
Gates?
Yeah, that can control the flow of pain signals to the brain.
Interesting. So they can open and close, letting more or less pain signals through?
Exactly. And importantly, these gates can be influenced by a variety of factors.
Okay. Like what?
Well, one of the most interesting is other sensory input. And this actually helps explain why, for instance, rubbing a sore spot can sometimes provide relief.
Oh, that's interesting. So the non-painful input from the rubbing is competing with the pain signals.
Right.
And then the brain kind of decides to focus on the touch sensation instead.
Exactly. It's a prime example of how the brain can modify our pain experience.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So we've covered the types of pain, how the signals travel to the brain, and how the brain can actually modulate those signals.
Yep.
I'm realizing that pain is a lot more complex than just a simple ouch.
There's a whole lot more to it than that.
And it sounds like there are even different dimensions to pain.
There are different aspects that really contribute to the overall experience.
Oh, wow. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so researchers have proposed this theory that pain can be understood in 3 different dimensions.
Okay.
The sensory discriminative, the affective motivational, and the cognitive evaluative.
Okay. Let's break those down. What does sensory discriminative mean?
So that's the most basic information about the pain itself. Where it hurts, how intense it is, what it feels like.
Hmm.
Is it stabbing, burning, aching, and how long it lasts?
Okay, so it's like the what and where of the pain experience.
Exactly. So like a sharp stabbing pain in your finger would have a different sensory discriminative profile than a dull aching pain in your back.
Makes sense.
Right.
Okay, what about the effective motivational dimension?
Okay, so this one's all about the emotional response to pain.
Oh, okay.
How unpleasant is it? How much does it make you want to avoid or escape the pain?
Right, because pain isn't just a neutral sensation, is it?
It's not.
It's usually tied up with all these negative emotions like fear, anxiety, frustration.
Exactly. And that emotional response can even affect how intense the pain feels.
Mm.
The same injury might be perceived as much worse if you're already feeling stressed or anxious.
Wow, so our emotional state can actually amplify our pain. That's crazy.
It's true.
Okay, so we've got the sensory information, the emotional response, and the last one is cognitive evaluative.
Right.
What does that involve?
Okay, so this is where our thoughts, beliefs, and past experiences all come into play.
Okay.
It's how we make sense of the pain,
Yeah.
how we interpret it, and how we cope with it.
Hmm. So like someone who believes that pain is a sign of weakness might try to ignore it or downplay it,
Yeah, they might.
while someone who views pain as a message from their body might be more likely to seek treatment.
Right, or make lifestyle changes.
Right. So the way we think about pain can actually influence how we experience it.
It absolutely can.
That's kind of empowering.
Yeah.
It means we might have some control over our pain.
You do. And that's why psychological approaches to pain management, like cognitive behavioral therapy, can be so effective.
Yeah, because they help us change our thoughts and behaviors
Right?
in ways that reduce our suffering and improve our ability to cope.
Exactly.
This is all so fascinating. We've gone from just a basic definition of pain to these really nuanced dimensions. It's clear that pain is way more complex than most people realize.
It really is. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore about how pain works, how it affects us, and how we can manage it effectively.
And I'm definitely ready to dive deeper.
Me too. It's amazing how much our understanding of pain has evolved in recent years.
It really is.
Hmm.
It's like we've moved beyond that old idea of pain as just a simple reflex. You know, like when a doctor taps your knee with a hammer.
Exactly. We're starting to grasp that pain involves this incredible interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors. It's not just about tissue damage, but about how our brain interprets and responds to that damage.
Right, and those interpretations, well, they can be influenced by everything, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
Our emotions, our past experiences, even our cultural background.
Absolutely. It's like pain is the story our brain creates,
Right.
weaving together all these different threads of information.
I love that analogy. And like any good story, pain can have different layers of meaning and significance. It can be a warning,
Right.
a protector,
Yeah.
a source of suffering,
Yeah,
and maybe even, strangely enough, a catalyst for growth and change.
absolutely. It can be all of those things.
This makes me think about how we approach pain management.
Yeah.
If it's more than just a physical sensation, how does that change the way we think about treating it?
Well, it really challenges us to move beyond just masking the symptoms.
Right.
We need to address the whole person, you know?
Right.
Their thoughts, their emotions, their behaviors, all of those things play a role in how they experience pain and how they cope with it.
So a more holistic approach.
Exactly. Instead of just reaching for medication as a first resort,
Right.
we need to help people understand their pain, develop coping strategies, and empower them to regain control over their lives. And that might involve a combination of approaches: medication, physical therapy, counseling, maybe even alternative therapies like acupuncture or yoga.
It sounds like finding the right combination is key.
It really is.
And that means working closely with healthcare providers to figure out what works best for each individual.
Absolutely. It's about personalized care, not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
And it's about empowering people to become active participants in their own healing, to understand they have a role to play in reducing their suffering and improving that quality of life.
I love that perspective. It's about shifting from a passive patient role to an active self-manager role. It feels so much more hopeful.
Exactly. And that shift in mindset can make all the difference.
You know, this conversation is making me realize just how much we've learned about pain in recent years.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about the historical context.
Oh, interesting.
How has pain been understood and treated throughout history? I bet that could give us some really valuable insights.
You're absolutely right. Looking back can offer a fascinating perspective on how our understanding of pain has evolved and how cultural beliefs have shaped our responses to it.
So what can you tell us about the history of pain?
Well, for a long time, pain was often seen as a punishment from a higher power
Oh, wow.
or a test of faith, something to be endured, not necessarily treated.
Wow.
There were early attempts at pain relief, of course,
No, I'm sure.
herbal remedies, crude surgical techniques, but they were often ineffective and sometimes even dangerous.
I can only imagine. Pain relief must have seemed almost magical back then.
It really must have.
It wasn't until much later that we started to develop more sophisticated methods, right?
Right. The discovery of anesthesia in the 19th century was a major turning point.
But it revolutionized surgery,
Mm-hmm.
made these complex procedures possible
Right.
without causing excruciating pain.
That must have been an incredible breakthrough, like a whole new world opened up for medicine.
Absolutely. And it really paved the way for the development of modern pain management as we know it.
Yeah.
With all the new medications and technologies, psychological approaches that are constantly emerging.
It's amazing to think how far we've come.
It is.
But even today, there's still a stigma surrounding pain, isn't there?
There is.
Especially chronic pain. It's like people are sometimes seen as weak or complaining if they talk about their pain.
That's such an important point. The stigma surrounding pain can be a huge barrier for people seeking help.
Right.
It can lead to unnecessary suffering and isolation.
So how do we break down that stigma? Where do we even begin?
It starts with education, both for the public and for healthcare providers. We need to raise awareness about the complexity of pain, the fact that it's not always visible or easy to measure, and that everyone experiences it differently. Right.
We need to promote empathy and understanding, recognizing that pain is a real and valid experience that deserves compassionate care.
I couldn't agree more. Creating a culture where people feel comfortable talking about their pain without judgment, that's so crucial.
It is. It's a vital step towards better pain management and reducing the burden of suffering in our society.
So we've talked about the history of pain, the stigma surrounding it, and the need for a more holistic approach to management. But what about the future? What exciting developments and innovations are on the horizon? What does the future of pain relief look like?
This is where things get really exciting. There's so much promising research happening, and we're really on the brink of some major breakthroughs. One area I'm particularly excited about is personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine.
Where treatments are tailored to an individual's unique genetic makeup and pain profile.
Wow, so instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, we're moving towards treatments designed specifically for each person.
Exactly. It could lead to much more targeted and effective pain relief with fewer side effects.
That sounds incredible. What other areas of research are you keeping an eye on?
Another promising avenue is the development of non-opioid pain medications. Opioids have been a mainstay of pain management for decades, but they come with significant risks like addiction and overdose.
Right.
Researchers are working hard to develop new drugs that target specific pain pathways without those addictive qualities.
That would be a game changer for so many people who rely on opioids for relief. Are there any other innovations you're particularly excited about?
Definitely. The use of technology for pain management is exploding right now. Think virtual reality, biofeedback, even smartphone apps that can help people track their pain, learn coping skills, and connect with others who understand what they're going through.
Oh, I've heard about virtual reality being used for pain relief. How does that work? Does it just distract you from the pain?
Distraction is a big part of it, yeah. By immersing yourself in a virtual world, you can shift your attention away from the pain and reduce its intensity. It's been particularly helpful for acute pain, like during burn wound care or dental procedures.
Oh, okay.
But there's growing evidence that it can also be beneficial for chronic pain management.
That's fascinating. It feels like we're entering this whole new era of pain management where technology is playing a bigger and bigger role.
It really does.
That's giving me a lot of hope for the future.
Me too. With all the research and innovation happening, I'm incredibly optimistic that we'll continue to make significant progress in understanding and treating pain, leading to a brighter future for those who suffer from it.
Okay, so we've explored the history of pain, the stigma surrounding it, and the exciting future of pain management, and of course the fascinating science behind it all. But I'm wondering, are there any valuable lessons we can learn from other cultures and their approaches to pain? It seems like different societies might have very different perspectives on pain.
You're absolutely right. Different cultures have very diverse perspectives on pain,
Yeah.
shaped by their unique beliefs, values, and social norms. Some cultures view pain as a natural part of life, something to be accepted and endured, while others see it as a sign of weakness or something to be avoided at all costs. These cultural lenses can dramatically influence how pain is expressed, perceived, and treated.
Can you give us some specific examples of how these different perspectives play out in real life?
Sure. In some cultures, pain is deeply intertwined with spiritual beliefs. It might be seen as a test of faith or even a pathway to enlightenment.
Wow.
You might see ritualistic practices involving pain, like piercing or scarification, used to demonstrate strength, resilience, or spiritual devotion.
That's so different from the way pain is typically viewed in Western medicine,
Mm.
where we often focus on eliminating it as quickly as possible.
Exactly. And in some indigenous cultures, pain might be understood as an imbalance in the body's energy or a disharmony with nature. Traditional healers might use herbal remedies, massage, or other therapies to restore balance and alleviate pain, rather than just focusing on the physical symptoms.
It's fascinating how these different perspectives can influence not only how pain is interpreted, but also how it's managed. Do you think there are any lessons that Western medicine can learn from these other traditions?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot we can gain from cultures that emphasize a more holistic approach to healing, recognizing the interconnectedness of the body, mind, and spirit. Incorporating mindfulness practices, stress reduction techniques, even some traditional healing methods could enhance our existing pain management strategies and provide more comprehensive care for those struggling with chronic pain.
It's about broadening our perspective and being open to different ways of understanding and addressing pain.
Precisely. And remembering that pain is a complex and multidimensional experience that requires a nuanced and individualized approach.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of pain, I'm struck by how much we've covered. But it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore. Pain is such a multifaceted and endlessly fascinating topic, and our understanding of it is constantly evolving.
I think it's time for a quick break, but we'll be back soon to wrap up our exploration of pain with some final thoughts and takeaways. We're back, and wow, my mind is still buzzing from all those fascinating insights we've uncovered about pain. It's truly remarkable how much our understanding has shifted, especially in recognizing the profound influence of psychological and social factors.
Yeah, it's a real paradigm shift. We've moved away from that purely biomedical model where pain was seen as like just a physical signal. Now we appreciate that it's this intricate tapestry woven from, biological, psychological, and social threads. It's not just about fixing a broken bone, it's about understanding the whole person and their unique experience.
And that shift has really opened up so many new avenues for pain management. We've gone from simply masking pain to exploring a whole range of approaches that address the mind, body, and even spirit.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to become active participants in their own healing journey, giving them tools and strategies to, navigate their pain and reclaim their lives. And with all the research and innovation happening, I'm incredibly optimistic about the future of pain management. We're on the cusp of some truly groundbreaking discoveries.
As we wrap up our deep dive into pain, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember?
Well, I hope they come away with a deeper appreciation for the complexity of pain. It's not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. It's influenced by our biology, our psychology, our culture, even our beliefs about pain itself.
It's a reminder that we need to listen to and validate individual experiences of pain. What might be debilitating for one person might be manageable for another. There's no room for judgment or comparison.
Absolutely. And I hope listeners also feel empowered by the knowledge that they don't have to be passive victims of pain. By understanding the different dimensions of pain and exploring a variety of strategies, they can regain a sense of agency and reduce their suffering.
That's a powerful message. Pain can be challenging, sometimes even debilitating, but it doesn't have to define us or control our lives.
And with continued research, innovation, and a growing awareness of the complexities of pain, I believe we can create a future where pain is better understood, more effectively treated, and ultimately less of a burden on individuals and society as a whole.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible journey into the world of pain. Your insights have been truly enlightening.
It's been my pleasure. Pain is a subject I'm deeply passionate about, and I'm always eager to share what I've learned.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive into pain has given you a new perspective on this universal human experience. As you go about your day, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. The more we understand about pain, the better equipped we are to manage it, overcome it, and ultimately live richer, healthier, and more meaningful lives.